Hello again. Our next speaker is Dr. Faraz Harsini, an accomplished biomedical scientist and the CEO of Allied Scholars for Animal Protection. Faraz leverages his personal experiences as an immigrant, first-generation college student, and LGBT community member to raise awareness about the interconnectedness of human and animal oppression. Today's presentation will show the intersection of animal rights and social justice, as animal rights are a social justice issue drawing on his personal experiences. Please welcome Faraz Harsini.
Thank you so much for being here. Before I start, I wanted to point out something. 2 weeks ago, I gave a talk at another conference in Denmark, and that place also happened to be, those guys. That place also happened to be a former slaughterhouse. I don't know what's up with having animal rights conferences in previous slaughterhouses, but I like the trend, right? All right, so how many of you are vegan here? Oh, wow, that's more than 1% average. Shocking. How many of you identify as LGBT? That's it? Come on, man. We need more gay people. We need to work harder. Okay, so in my presentation, I'm gonna talk about other forms of oppression and see what we can learn from them and apply to animal rights. So when we advocate for animals, we are more effective and impactful in our outreach. All right, so for the past 10 and 11 years, I've been doing animal rights advocacy. I've done anything from DXC to the Humane League and PCRM and Mercy for Animals. And I want to tell you how I got here. So I started my bachelor with a degree in chemical engineering. So then because of the environmental impact, I changed my research to biofuel production. Then I was still not satisfied. So I told myself, what is something better I can do? I was a musician, so I was like, maybe I should be doing clowning naturally. So I joined this group, so we went to hospitals, we tried to play for children suffering from cancer. And for an introvert, that was a big step. Then I asked myself, is there anything better than clowning for cancer patients? The answer was yes, actually studying cancer. So for my master's, I studied cancer, and then I continued with my doctorate. I studied biomedical sciences. And then I joined pharmaceutical companies to basically work on pandemics, antibiotic resistance, cancer, until a point where I quit that job, and that's one of the best things I've ever done, because I was so tired of working on all these diseases that are rooted in animal consumption to begin with. So it's so stupid to make antibodies and drugs for influenza when the root cause is consuming egg and chicken. So as long as we're doing that, we're gonna have pandemics. So I quit my job and joined the Good Food Institute. So I'm a bioprocessing senior scientist. My work is to scale up alternative protein production. I also started my own nonprofit, Allied Scholars for Animal Protection. And the goal here is to train the future leaders of animal rights movement, just like Bruce and Ingrid from GFI and PETA. Okay, so before becoming an animal rights activist, I used to be a baby. Naturally, when you mature, you understand that there is nothing better that you can do with your life, right? So the other picture is the last picture I have with my mom. That's Tehran International Airport. So this is about 11 years ago, 11 or 12 years ago, and something about this picture. This might be the last time that I actually saw my mom because of the reasons that you're gonna learn about me. I can never go back to my home country, and my mom can't leave either. So there is a possibility that I would never see her again. And the other thing about this picture is that my mom is actually not religious, but in public, women are forced to wear hijab, which just says something about oppression of people, especially women in my home country. So speaking of my home country, this is where I did my bachelor before I moved to the US. It's called University of Tehran, which is the oldest and largest university and best university in my country. And it's also the center of political activities. So in 2009, I was a part of a huge protest against the regime, and we were basically asking for basic human rights. So we students were on the left side, and police was on the other side, and they were throwing tear gas at us and everything. Our protest was really peaceful at first, but things escalated. At some point, one of our friends walked from the other side, and all he did was showing us a peace sign. The next thing I know, paramilitary forces attacked him and started beating him in the head with batons. I don't have the right words to describe this, that what it's like for someone that you care about, to just being beaten up in front of your head, in front of your eyes, and you can't do anything about it. Just the sound of sirens and screaming and being so helpless because we couldn't open the gate, the smell of tear gas, something I never want to see again in my life. And things got worse. At some point, paramilitary forces actually broke inside the university. At this point, all I saw was an army of people in front of me, and I was tear gassed, so I couldn't see clearly. I saw the army of people, and I couldn't tell if there were students running away or it was basically the police and paramilitary forces, until one of them, just maybe 20 feet away from me, raised his hand and said, "Motherfucker, wait." That's the best motherfucker I've ever heard in my life. That was my cue that this is not students and I better run. And I ran as fast as I could. Now, if you know something else about my country, homosexuality is also punishable by death in Sharia law. And it's even worse if you do LGBT activism, which I have. Something that I sometimes think about is, I really wish I accepted myself and I just kept it a secret. But the thing is, the depth of oppression and the depth of, it's such a taboo that you can't even think that this is how things work. This is the natural state of how you are. And you tell yourself that, you remember, what is wrong with me? Why am I so different from other guys? What's wrong with me? Maybe I grow up and this goes away. Spoiler alert, it didn't. And that's why when I came out, it was one of the most freeing experiences of my life. It happened in this cancer center in the US. So I went to my friend, I said, "Hey, Ash, I'm gay." He said, "Well, duh." I said, "God damn it, how could you tell?" He said, "Just look at what you're wearing. I bet you can find a parrot that matches your style every day." And we are scientists, so we had to test the hypothesis, and he was right. I don't know what wearing colorful clothes has to do with being gay, but since he was right, I didn't really have a point. About 11 years ago, my life changed. This is Maral. One day she told me, "Faraz, you can't say you love animals and eat them too." And I was like, ouch. I'm a good person. I almost got killed trying to defend humans, and you're telling me I'm not good enough? How judgmental. And 3 months later, I didn't like her for 3 months, but 3 months later, I learned that she was right, and I changed. But let that be a lesson for all of us. A lot of times we are so worried about saying something and upsetting people that we just don't say anything. If my friend was if she was worried about upsetting me and she didn't say anything, I wouldn't be here today talking about animal rights with you all. And also, a lot of times we say that if people get upset, that means that your outreach isn't working, but that's not true, because she actually said that in the nicest way possible and still got upset. And we all know why. That's because I'm not upset at her, really. I'm upset at my own hypocrisy. She was right. I was really upset when I saw my friend being beaten up, but I was okay with pigs being cut open. I was against gay people being hanged for who they are, but I was okay with chickens being hanged upside down and having their throat cut. I would just say all these nice words, human rights, feminism, women's rights, but at the same time, I was consuming dairy, and I don't know if there is any industry that is as abusive as dairy is to females of other species. So why is there such a disconnect between human rights and animal rights? Cognitive dissonance and speciesism. Let me tell you a story about cognitive dissonance. When I was a kid, my mom used to just buy me chickens, and a lot of times they just died. They never reached the age that they grew up because they were so weak. But finally, one of them made it. We called him Mr. Happy. He became this like large and healthy rooster, and happy was actually the first English word that I learned. He was loud, so we had to give him to my grandma, and what I loved to do was to go to her house and open the door, and this chicken would run to me, jump at me, and we cuddled, and I loved this guy. Until one day I opened the door, and he's not there. I tell my grandma, "Grandma, where is Happy?" She says, "Oh dear, Faraz, I'm so sorry. The door was left open. He ran away." I felt betrayed because I thought that he loved me so much that he would never run away. What did he run away from? It was until 10 years later when my mom said that the chicken soup we had that night. I had a really hard time forgiving my grandma. But the irony of that is that that day I knew I had chicken, but I was happy because I thought that wasn't Mr. Happy, right? So cognitive dissonance. So what can we learn when we compare human rights with animal rights? So human rights doesn't mean that humans are identical. We acknowledge that we are different, right? I mean, I'm here, I have a different race than you, right? I have accent, you probably don't. I'm gay, you're unfortunately not. But we recognize that our differences are not morally relevant to how we should be treated, right? The only thing that matters is that if you oppress me, I will suffer, and if you stab me, it will hurt. So the same thing is true about animal rights. Animal rights doesn't mean that a cow or a chicken is identical to a human. All it means is that the only morally relevant factor is that if you oppress them, if you stab them, they'll suffer. So why do I say that? When we do outreach, the most common excuses that we get from people are these two. What if we just treat them a little better or humanely? Or don't worry, I'm not causing this, I buy cage-free eggs. Or they say, yeah, this is clearly wrong, I'm just gonna reduce my consumption. There are two things we can do. We can either say, oh, that's awesome, I love that you're gonna reduce. I say we can be encouraging, at the same time not compromise for animals. If we just do this little step and compare that with any other form of injustice and say, would you say that these are a sound solution for any form of injustice? They would tell you no. I tell them, if I was beating a child and I was saying, okay, fine, instead of 7 days a week, I'm gonna beat this child once a week, would that be okay? They say no. So what about once a month? They say no, right? So just remember that as animal rights activists, when we are fighting for animals, we are fighting for victims and we are fighting for individuals. And if you were as unlucky as I am and were born in Iran, if you were gay, this could be you. So imagine, put yourself in their place. If someone was hanging you for who they are, would you like me here to stay and say, let's just kill fewer people. Let's just kill the guy on the left and let the right one go. Would you like me to say that instead of, let's just give them a little more space the night before we kill them. Let's just buy better rope so when you're hanging them, it doesn't hurt their neck so much. Or would you want me to say that killing people for who they are is wrong and it needs to stop immediately? I'm not sure about you. I want the latter. Okay, so I want to also share some recipes for burnout. One of them is wasting time on people who are not open. So just last week, David Rams and Annie and I were in Amsterdam, and we were doing Cubes of Truth 12 hours a day. And of course, a lot of people were open, but some people are not, right? So if you keep wasting your time on people who are not open, you're just gonna burn out because you wasted your time. Another thing is focusing too much on your friends and family. Please keep talking and pushing your friends and family. But if you're new to activism, please don't waste your time, all of your time on them. Because with friends and family, you always have this emotional history bullshit going on that you don't with strangers, right? So if you take that time and put it elsewhere, you're gonna get a much better results. Pandering, that was a huge thing with me. I always wanted to try to be super nice to people and like be kind of fake. And it was really backfiring because deep down, I was really there for animals, but I was trying to be their friends, like the bystander's friend. I would try to smile and be encouraging and all that. Now I'm respectful, I'm encouraging, but I don't compromise for animals. And the next point I'm making is, you can actually say whatever you want. It's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. I literally call people animal abusers and hypocrite, but the way I do it is very different. So for instance, I say, how does this footage make you feel? They say sad. I say, do you know what number one benefit of being a vegan is? They say, what? I say, well, number one benefit is that you are no longer responsible for this animal abuse and exploitation. So I call them animal abuser. Then I say, the number one benefit for you is that if you tell me that you don't like what happens to animals, your values are here, but with your actions, you're supporting this, you're paying for this. What do you call a person whose actions and values are not aligned? They say hypocrite. Here, I call them hypocrite. I got them to say hypocrite. And the entire time they're nodding, they do a fist bump. I'm honest, so it's not about what you say. When it comes from a place of compassion, rather than you trying to just yell at someone because you want to yell, I think people can understand and they connect with you even better. Last thing, I guess, so another thing is not talking about the victim. So I had that problem. So I was doing activism and someone would come to me and say, hey, going vegan is really hard. I would say, how so? They're like, okay, so vegan cheese, it just doesn't melt and I hate it. I'm like, but then like anything else, you have to just try different brands and try this brand, try that brand. But the whole time I'm burning inside and I'm angry because I'm thinking about animals. I don't give a shit about vegan cheese. I'm here for animals, but the words out of my mouth are vegan cheese. So that conflict right there made me burn out. Today, if somebody tells me that it's hard to be vegan, all I ask them is, do you think it's harder for you to be vegan or is it harder for animals to go through that? And I haven't had a single person who trolled that question. And last thing is relationships. So I'm not here to give relationship advice. I probably am not the right person to do that anyways, but take that as outreach advice. I don't care what you do in your personal life, obviously, but if relationships make you a worse activist, and as a result that impacts animals, then that's where I care. What I wanted to share with you is that the moment that you're born, you're exposed to this idea that you're not good enough. You need another person. You need a partner to be happy. Where is your other half? Where is your better half? Where is your plus one? When are you finally gonna find somebody, right, to make you happy? And it's like, you're not good enough by yourself. Your life goal is literally just to find another person somehow. And this idea is hammered in your head with literally every single animation and movie you can think of, like Titanic, of course, but even like Shrek, right? So the reason I say that is that as vegans, we are in minority, so we compromise. We compromise our values. And oftentimes we date non-vegans. And I think it is okay. I think even a hunter gets an explanation, deserves an explanation. But at some point, they either change and align their values with yours, or they don't. And if they don't, here is what's gonna happen. There are two ways it can go. Either you keep speaking up for animals and you're gonna hurt your partner, or you're just gonna not speak up for animals, and that's oftentimes what happens. People date non-vegans and they don't wanna piss them off, so they stop being an activist, and neither case is ideal. So next time when you date someone, ask yourself, is this relationship empowering or is it holding you back? And are you compromising your values? Please don't compromise your values no matter with who, right? So if you date someone, if you find a friend, if you find a colleague, it should be empowering. It should make you a better activist, not the other way around. I think in our movement, sometimes we put all of our efforts and resources to make a lot of people doing a shitty job in being vegan, like a half-assed job. Having a lot of people reducing their consumption, I think it's good. But something that we are neglecting here is, if you put the same resources, you can get fewer people go vegan. And then you can do math and say that in this case, you're actually reducing more suffering, which is fair. What we are not considering is, in this case, it's very high impact and neglected because then you have second and third order effects. What do I mean by that? This is why this is my favorite quote. So, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, this is the only thing that ever has. So when you actually focus on ethics, when you focus on having basically a small group of thoughtful and committed vegans with animal liberation values who treat animal rights as a justice issue, it has a lot of benefits. So one is that these people are less likely to cheat on their ethics. Someone was telling me going vegan is really hard. Sometimes it's 3 a.m. I don't have vegan food. All the restaurants are closed. And it was like, when was the last time you were in that situation? You were so hungry, it was 3 a.m. and you looked down on your dog and you're like, sorry, buddy. Everybody laughs because it's stupid, right? When you think about animals as sentient beings, you go to bed hungry, but you wouldn't cheat on your values. You're more likely to go vegan faster, stay vegan, and become an animal advocate, and most importantly, choose your careers in a way that it impacts animals. So it snowballs from there. So that's the second and third order effects. So when I'm sad, I remind myself that we don't need the entire world to go vegan. All we need is a small number of dedicated individuals. And to show you how effective it is, every single person in this room probably has made somewhere between tens to thousands of people vegan. I mean, we have David Rams and Annie here. We had John Oberg yesterday, right? Tobias is sitting there. So very impactful activists. And just think about the number of people these people have changed because they have vegan values in heart. So sometimes I'm invited to talk about LGBT careers and whatever, somehow, whatever. So with like student groups, little they know it's all gonna be about veganism, haha. So I show them this picture and I say, what do you think about that? They're like, oh, you know, chicken nuggets, yummy. Ooh. And I say, what about now? So all I give them is this little piece of information that this chicken is from Chick-fil-A. Now, in the US, if you don't know, Chick-fil-A is a big chain, and they spend a lot of money for against LGBT activities. So LGBT people don't like them. The moment that it's the same chicken, it's the same food, but now their perspective changed. Now they see it as a form of injustice, and they don't want to support it. So that's the power of changing people's perspective and get them to see animal rights as a form of injustice. I want to show you how it works in real life. How does that make you feel?
Terrible.
Terrible?
Yeah, I've been vegan for 5 years.
You're vegan?
Yeah, yeah.
What about your friend?
My girlfriend's been vegan too, yeah.
Nice. How long?
No, not as, like, I cheat a little bit, but yeah, I try, yeah.
You cheat?
A little bit, like cookies and stuff, save milk, but yeah. She's a better vegan than me, but.
So it's not a gray zone that you can be 99% vegan. It sounds like you have all the good intentions. But if you really compare that to any other form of oppression, if I did something like racist and I said like, oh, I'm just cheating on not being racist, would you accept that excuse to me, right?
Yeah, that makes
sense. So please. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's harder for you to be vegan, or do you think it's harder for that cow to go through that, for the chicken to go through?
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So please treat the issue just with that seriousness. Okay, so that took very little for me to make the connection, and she could see that. I was respectful, but I didn't compromise for animals. So what we really need is more impactful people in the position of power, and that's what I try to do with my nonprofit, Allied Scholars. So the problem is, the bad news is that a lot of these influential people come from universities. But in the universities, we don't have a unified strategy for animal advocacy. It looks like a music band of people who are like 18, 19, 20, without experience, out of tune, out of rhythm. What I want for animal advocacy is a symphony orchestra, where everyone is trained and unified, and there is a conductor. So the good news is this problem has been solved before. One example of that is the Federalist Society. They went from working with students in law schools in the US to have them in the most powerful position of justice. In the basically 6 out of 9 Supreme Court justices are affiliated with them in one generation. Another one is Christian organizations. Now, I'm atheist personally, but I really admire the dedication. No matter whether it's like hot, cold, they're always there doing whatever Christians do. And the question is, why can't we be like that? What is seriously more important than our message in veganism, right? So that's what I want. And that's why with our nonprofit, we focus on outreach, which is completely missing, to make new vegans. And then when we bring them in, we really want to inspire them to have impactful careers. And at the end, we want to work with dining halls to become vegan, so to make veganism more accessible. And just to show you what it looks like, we have someone doing that over there. We have a sign, we have a tent, we have a table, debate going on there. And the way I look at this, look at how many students there are, right? This is at the University of Texas at Austin. And the way I think about it is, even if 1%, 1 or 2% were vegan, that's already over 1,000 students, right? Vegan, right in front of us. If only we could harvest that potential. So that's my goal. And when we bring them in, we supplement that with information. For instance, we have whole food plant-based doctor, physicians to go to medical schools. And I don't want this to be random talks here and there. I want them to become systematic part of education. And to show you how it works, this is one student from Columbia University who wrote back to me and said, too often I'm nervous to come off as too aggressive in my veganism, despite feeling strongly about living a vegan lifestyle. Your talk reminded me of just how important of an issue this is and how I can start building my career. So that's the key. Now, one of the speakers was actually talking about this. Do you think I inspired this person by giving them information? Of course not. So this is a lecture I gave at Harvard, and I was invited to speak about pandemics and antibiotic resistance, which I did. But at the end, I really wanted to show them Dominion. And these are not vegan students, by the way. I was uncomfortable. I didn't want to be that guy, but I knew it was the right thing to do. All right, guys, you are gonna hate me for 3 minutes, feel about me however you want, but this is something I need to show you. What I'd like you to think about when you're watching this is asking yourself, if this was you or an animal that you care about, how urgently would you want this to stop? So please think about that. I will watch it with you. I know it's not easy to watch this, but thank you. It's easy to sit here in this air-conditioned room and talk about how to change the food system and lose that connection with every single individual victim of this system. Now let me ask you this again. If this was happening to you or animal that you care about, how urgently would you want this to stop? Raise your hand if you want this to stop immediately. So the question I have for you is that, what are we doing about this? What are we going to do about this? What are we doing with our lives to stop this? With your careers or as an individual? Thank you. And here is another example. This guy raised pigs for slaughter. He came at our table, he became vegan, and now he's dedicating his career to building bioreactors for alternative proteins. So when I say the talent is there and we just have to harness it, that's what I mean. So another thing I want to show you is another form of activism that we've done, the dog meat event. And again, see how this guy got agitated when he just saw what we were doing with dogs, and how he went from that to vegan in the course of 2 minutes.
You can't get a better job, please? Selling dog meat?
Fresh, local dog meat available today only.
Dog? Sorry? You want to take my dog? You don't want your dog.
Okay,
I'm
but
glad you don't want my dog. You know what?
At the end of the day, I do agree.
Fuck you up if you took my dog.
Y'all
Y'all can't get a better job.
But I have a question for you, sir. So, what's the difference between a dog and a
Hey,
cow?
you can't get a better job, please? Selling dog meat? Huh? Tell your owner that this is fucked up. Y'all can't get a better job than this.
What meat do you suggest that we sell?
I don't give a fuck what you eat.
Excuse me, sir.
This is bullshit.
And it's wonderful that you're upset because it means that you're loving and
Yes or no?
compassionate and kind.
Yes or no? Because I yelled at this poor young lady here.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's okay.
What's your name?
De La Rosa.
De La Rosa. Okay, we're not actually selling dog meat. We're trying to highlight the hypocrisy between people eating pigs and cows, but not eating dogs. So all these feelings that you're feeling right now about dog meat, that's how we feel about pigs and cows. Do you eat those animals? It makes a lot of sense? Yeah. Have you ever thought about it? Yeah. So since you've thought about it, you seem like a real animal lover. I really admire the passion that you approach us with.
Every single day, you guys got me.
Sure. So, so now that you have thought about this, would you consider not harming animals when you don't have to?
Yes.
Really?
I'm sorry. I love that you're able to express these emotions
it's okay.
without any filter. It's really refreshing to see someone do that.
We'll give you some resources.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Just all this anger that you felt at us, I want you to feel it for every animal that's being harmed. And so, do I have your promise now that you're no longer going to pay for animals to be killed when you don't have to? You're going vegan? Amazing. The resources are all on there. I'm so proud of you. Today marks the day of your journey. And what's this little dude's name? Nico. He's so cute.
Just remember, no one wants to change if they are comfortable with where they are, right? So sometimes it's necessary to feel uncomfortable in order to induce change. Okay, so the last part of my presentation is, please use anything in your power to speak up for animals. Ideally, quit your job, dedicate your career to animal advocacy full-time, in non-profit, whatever. You can figure it out. If you can't, please donate, right? And support others to do that kind of stuff. Do activism if you are shy. I'm an introvert. The last thing I want to do is just be honestly being on this stage just kills me. But here I am because I know that it's, anyways. So please speak up, street outreach, online, whatever. Write reviews. You guys don't get to complain about lack of vegan options if you don't write reviews. And then get creative, use literally anything in your power. See what you're good at, use it. I noticed that in Thanksgiving, when I kept talking about turkeys, over time people expected that and started not watching my videos. So I had to come up with a new way. Hi, so now that I have your attention, you didn't think I made this video just to say Happy Thanksgiving, did you? Yeah, no, I wanted to say, this Thanksgiving, do whatever the fuck you want. There's a ton of fun activities that you can do. You can talk about Fox News and capitalism with your dad. You see, it's kind of hypocritical to get together and be thankful for being healthy, alive, and together, while literally having a tortured and slaughtered animal at our table, with stuff shoved up their butthole. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm so bad, I didn't even know who Selena Gomez was until I saw this picture and I was like, nah. So I noticed that she was famous, and that's where I actually Googled her first time. And then, wrote this very polite tweet, and it actually got over like about 1 million views, and thousands of people started talking about fish. And there was actually an article written about that tweet that went viral. So 2 weeks ago, I was in Denmark, and one of the participants was complaining about lack of vegan options in his flight. So I said, write whatever you want, I will tweet it. And that got 10,000 views. Google reviews. Okay, so I went to this vegetarian place that said, peace and respect and stuff, all these nice words. I was like, you don't get to talk about like peace and stuff while serving animal products. Wrote a review that says, advocating for health, environment, or peace while you serve animals is false advertisement. I went to Washington Square Park in New York City. I was doing a cube there and was like, oh, wait a second, I can actually write a review for the park. It has gotten 4,000 views, okay. So I said, it's a very nice park. I came here to walk, and then I suddenly saw this group talking about animal rights and like veganism, and it was very eye-opening. They told me, actually, you can't kill animals humanely. So it's actually in my review somewhere. We did another cube outside of this restaurant, and I accidentally went inside the restaurant and accidentally took a picture from outside, and which accidentally shows the cube. And then I asked the restaurant if they had any vegan options. They said no, so I wrote a review and said, hey, I came here, these guys changed my mind. Now I want vegan options, they don't have it. I will come back when they have more options. My friends from New York City were protesting this place. It's a live poultry market. I went there, I took a picture and wrote a review, and 20,000 views. I think it was actually Tobias who posted this on Facebook first, and I saw that, wrote a tweet about it, and I noticed that there is a website there. So I found the business, took a screenshot of the tweet, put a post there, wrote a review. This is a vegan bakery in Texas, and I wrote a review that got 175,000 views. You guys are vegan. You guys love to take pictures of your food. So please write reviews. And would you say that this is helping this business to stay open? So please do this bare minimum thing that you can do. And my reviews have gotten like over 11 million views, and I'm not even that great. Here's the thing. I've written less than 200 reviews, right? And I'm already in top 95% of people who write reviews. Just imagine if 20 or 50 vegans went to a restaurant and didn't like the food or encouraged them to have more options, we would be a much better place today. So please do that. So the last thing I want to say is, let's do a quick thought experiment. Think about a social justice leader that you really like, MLK, Gandhi, whoever. Think about them for a second. Do you like them because they compromised for the victims? They were trying to say whatever was popular or people wanted to hear. They wanted to just raise more money for their nonprofit, etc. Or do you like them because they said the right thing, even though it wasn't popular? They did the right thing. They literally went to jail, but they never stopped speaking up for the victims, and they never shut up until abolition of discrimination and violence for the victims they were speaking up for. For me, it's the latter. So what I encourage you to see is that these people are not superhumans. We all have the same qualities. So let's not shut up until every goddamn cage is empty and every animal is liberated. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know if you have time for Q&A, probably not, but I'll be around. We do?
For one question we have, actually.
Okay, one question. Okay, she's
yes.
very enthusiastic.
We have time.
Okay, I'm sorry for being so enthusiastic, but of all places to meet someone just like me, it's here. I'm Iranian American. I didn't see my grandmother for years for the exact same reason as you. I only realize now that that's where I got my fight. That's where I got the motivation. This is why I didn't want to say anything, but we have the same struggle, and that's why we can't stand for this injustice. So, Zan Zadiki Irani and Afarin. Merci.
Thank you.
I think there's nothing I can add. Thanks again, and feel free to
course.
contact him, feel free to ask him.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, guys.